there is an element of these kiosks that are dual-sided, video-enabled on every single corner, that when you combine those and you think about all the touch points that people have as they're walking through the city,
it feels super powerful and like you've taken over a part of the city in a way that you would not otherwise be able to do without Link.
All right, here we are on Billboards, Bets, and a Little Bit of Booze. Welcoming Esther Raphael, Chief Marketing Officer for Intersection. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And before we get started talking about our bets
Yes.
and talking about billboards and digital home, we have a tradition here of kicking things off with a little bit of booze.
Let's do it.
I know it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
It is.
And I also know that you have a flight that you're about to catch to head across the country back to your hometown.
Some people would like a little bit of booze before their flight.
It's true. Sometimes they do.
We're just getting ready for the flight.
But so we're gonna honor that tradition today, and I thought, look, it's the morning, it's arguably brunch time, so why don't we do a little bit of
Dom
mimosas?
I love it.
So we have a Dom Perignon.
I thought you were gonna make me drink bourbon, and I would feel so bad for the waste of your bourbon.
Yeah, well,
I was like,
oh. And we have
Good
action.
job. Action.
Normally Normally in Vegas, the lights would be off, this would be glowing, everyone would be happy about that. But here in our podcast, we're just going to soak the table up and,
Good job.
Let's kick things off and talk a little bit about the future of the industry, the future of Intersection, the future of things that are getting you excited. And so on this podcast, we really like to think about bets from where are you focused on a few different initiatives that you think kind of takes things to the next level.
Yeah.
And for those who may not be familiar with Intersection, if you could start first with just a little background on your company and your role there, and then maybe we could talk about some of the bets.
Well, I'm the CMO of Intersection, and Intersection is an experience-driven out-of-home media and technology company, and we have transit, air, and street media all over the country. You may know us from one of our flagship products, Link NYC, which is the largest digital network in New York, and one of the pieces of media we are very, very proud to have in our portfolio.
Very cool. You can't walk the streets of New York without literally seeing Intersection on every intersection.
Yes.
And the impact that has. How many different units, just take Manhattan or New York area, like how many different kiosks or screens do you guys have? It's in the thousands. Yeah, that's what I thought. Huge footprint.
Huge footprint, which is what we love about Link. You can reach all of New York. You can reach a specific audience. You can tap into our dynamic capabilities. It's a really powerful network and a major part of the city and the communities within the city.
Totally. Love it. They're also video enabled.
They are.
Correct. So do you do a mix of video and static images, or is it mostly video content when it comes to advertising?
It's a mix.
Okay.
And now we're starting to play in, of course, I lost the word because it's so new. It's like 3D. Anamorphic.
Yes.
We're starting to play with that. As you see, obviously, in Times Square on those huge billboards when Nike's shoe pops out of the screen and looks 3D. So we do have video capabilities, and we, of course, have static capabilities on the screen as well.
Sure. A lot of time people, when they think about a home, they're thinking about just Times Square. They're thinking about roadside digital billboards. But there is an element of these kiosks that are dual-sided, video-enabled on every single corner, that when you combine those and you think about all the touch points that people have as they're walking through the city, in some ways, more impactful.
We've done a lot of takeovers of the city, takeovers of certain neighborhoods. There's this moment called Manhattan Henge in the city where all of I always think I've never seen this all the years I've lived in Manhattan, and yet I talk about this campaign all the time. But I guess it's when the sunset lines up with the skyline.
Okay.
And there are certain streets that you can see it from. And Coke did a drop. It was a countdown to a new can release.
Okay.
Times with Manhattan Head. So it was a countdown of when you were going to get to see the buildings line up with the sunset and the launch of the can. So to do things like that, Batman did a takeover. Like all of these streets are just Batman creative. It feels super powerful, and like you've taken over a part of the city in a way that you would not otherwise be able to do without Link.
Totally. And I'm just picturing, like, we've done some campaigns in Adomni where we've done Link or we've done other, it's kind of like street level, and you could literally paint the streets. Like, you could have, if you have like a prominent color, like, people are going to remember that brand just because of the colors they're literally emitting throughout the city on every single corner. It's really cool.
Especially at night. The video at night is always so beautiful when you get to see that kind of take over the lights of the color pop on the city. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And it's also a vertical format screen, which right now I feel like possibly is more popular than ever before just because our smartphones are vertical. Talk a little bit about that. How important is that?
It is super important. I think about this all the time as a consumer, and I think that we often lose as folks in advertising, and I've been in advertising my whole career, you sometimes forget that you're a consumer. And when I think about myself through the lens of a consumer, and when I think about how they reach me as the decision maker, there's only two places. And it does tie into what you just mentioned, which is the format also. It's obviously out of home and it is social media. And I'm not putting out of home in there because I work in the industry. It's true. If you want to sell me something, you're going to get me in out of home or you're going to get me in social media, specifically Instagram. I will click through to buy. And obviously TikTok, I cannot count the number of things I have purchased from TikTok. They have some work to do in terms of being able to shop off of it.
Right.
But
it's influential. It's influential. I mean, the data certainly supports that people's attention is going there. And we in the out-of-home industry also have all this time of people spending, traveling through. So it kind of makes sense that from just a time spent, like those are the places that influence. But I think what excites me and some of the initiatives we're working on, and I'd love to hear kind of how this might dovetail with your bets. I usually like you guys to have the first statement of what you're betting on. But the idea that these things actually connect, and that we're in this world of there's overstimulation. It's just crazy how many things, ideas, advertisements, just like pings we have in our world. How do we break through, cut through the noise? And Intersection literally is everywhere in the markets that you guys serve.
we are.
And so that helps in a big way. I mean, that ubiquity, that unmissability, I'm sure is a big piece of that.
Well, there's something to out of home as you talk about breaking through the noise. There's few times in your day that you're in silence, or you try to be in silence. I'm not in silence often. But when you're walking down the street, even this morning when I was walking to get here in my Uber, I thought to myself, like, just put your phone down, like, for 5 freaking seconds, put your phone down. And that's when out of home works best. And that's a lot of the research that came out at the end of the pandemic, talking about how people felt more engaged than ever, because it is this moment of like, I can't look at the screen anymore. I have to put the phone down, or I have to leave my desk. And then what you're left with is like this breath of fresh air. You want to be outside. You want to be in a moment of silence, and you're more willing to absorb what's around you because of it.
Totally. And I think people are starting to wake up to the idea that there's like a value system that we somehow drifted off of. And I think that's actually where out of home can play a really important role for marketers and just even for consumers. And so I'd love to, when I was on your website, just doing a little browsing, the mission statement.
Light reading.
Yeah, just some light reading, which I know this is probably your work, or partly your voice. You describe Intersection as an experience-driven out-of-home media and technology company. And so I thought that would be something I'd want to kind of probe further. When you say experience-driven, what do you mean by that?
So Intersection, and actually Link, we're talking a lot about Link today, was the first to put content on our screens. We actually have a team of editors that write content for our screens. It's not, someone's side job, it's their full-time job, and we started it. And that's the why, right? The experience part. When you think about all media, It all comes with a consumer experience. It starts with that, right? You turn on your TV because you want to watch whatever's on, and then you're willing to take the ads, right? Or you've paid to make them go away, which does work in our best interest as a different type of media. Magazines, newspapers, even social media, you come for the content, you come for the experience, you stay for the ad, right?
Right.
When we launched Lincoln, we realized we were going to have thousands of screens across the city. We thought about innovating and taking a bet, we use some of your own language, on what that was going to look like and how it was going to be different than other out-of-home media properties. And we started immediately with content. So the way that we think about content on Link is almost sometimes down to the very screen in a neighborhood. It's very... it's done to service the community and to serve New York. So we have different categories: know, do, inform, and we program the streets in the same way that you would go to any other media to get information. There's a value exchange there. We have also done a lot of our own research that our consumers and the people who are walking around the city tend to welcome an ad more because they're also looking at the weather, which that one always makes me laugh. People love the weather. And I always think to myself, like, did you really go outside and wait to find the weather on Link? Like, what are you going to do now? You're going to go get a coat?
Change, yeah.
Go buy a
go
jacket?
run into a store and,
Get an umbrella? Like, I always am the first one to be like, are we done with weather now? And it's just not going to happen. It's staying until it will outlive me. But then we also, on our transit properties, we do a lot of work with our advertisers to create experiences within transit hubs. So we've worked with Blue Bunny to turn a station into an ice cream station. So you'd walk out and you'd get ice cream and you'd talk to the ice cream person about, I forget, what would an ice cream server be called? About the new flavors while you're getting on the subway on like a hot day in Chicago. We really want to think about our media, and we do think about our media differently than just a screen. It is about the consumer's experience in a really contextual environment when they want to participate.
And that's, I feel like you're touching upon something that, you know, when the world went from painted to vinyl to digital, there was this huge leap on the amount of content, the amount of messages that you could put when all of a sudden you are in a loop and you've got multiple and you have video support, right? And the element of, you know, how do we ensure that people want to look at the screens? Or how do we ensure that we're not pissing people off because everyone's bullshit meter is higher than it's ever been before? And when it's just ad after ad after ad, then even if it's a hyper-local relevant ad, it still becomes something that people maybe dismiss. And so is that I'm hearing that's what part of that experience is where you're mixing it up so that people aren't just looking at it as purely a one way to sell you something, but actually something to deliver value back.
Yep.
That's awesome. I spoke at the last DPA about the blend of how the social platforms like TikTok especially do content and advertising in such a really unique way.
Yeah.
And I know you said you're a big Instagram person and you buy a lot of stuff from Instagram.
I do.
So it works that we're feeding in people's, what your friends are doing and then also some other relevant messaging.
I mean, Jonathan didn't give me any like prep for this podcast. He just said, we're going to talk about what your bets are for the out-of-home industry. So I'm going to have to like jump into my bets because you're touching on all of them.
Okay, let's do it.
Like I don't know what to do. I can't make good points unless you let me do my bets.
Let's go. Bet one.
Okay, bet number one is
Ready.
Right on topic. I think it's personalization 2.0. So personalization to me is like a buzzword that like all CMOs have been saying for a while, and it kind of became one of those words that really annoyed me. But what's special about out-of-home, and this is so top of mind to me because I have an experience from Vegas from this trip that made me think about the significance of personalization in out-of-home and why I'm betting on it being the 2.0 and taking it a little bit more literally in this space, is the beauty of like the context of audience and location. So I arrive in Vegas. This is a true story.
Okay.
This is
Fresh.
2 days ago. Fresh story. I arrive in Vegas. My husband and I are going to a store. We're getting to the store, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe we should go to a different store. I always go to this store. Like, what other store is there? And then I look up, and there is a billboard. And it says, new store opens on this street. And I'm like, oh, let's go there. So we make a right. And then the next billboard says, make a left.
No.
Yes. And then I make a left. Now, if I didn't work in out-of-home advertising, I'd be like, oh my God, God is speaking to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like someone
Am I in the
talking.
Minority Report, like
What's
2023 version?
So then we followed this billboard, and
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, like this is the definition of personalization. And I get to the store and I look at it and I'm like, I don't want to go to this store. And then I see a car wrap. This is not a joke.
Come on.
There's a taxi wrap and it says, go to
this
this store
other
is the
store.
most magical store in the world. And I'm like, let's go to that store.
Don't give up.
And we went to that store. And I thought to myself, like, this is the power of out of home, right? And it's not like I'm not participating in it because I work in it. Like I'm participating in it as a consumer. Like this
Right.
just happens. That is, when you think about TikTok, and I know because I have a lot of friends that work there, and I spend a lot of time, more than I should, absorbing TikTok and thinking about the creator economy. Their business tagline, and I'm going to botch it, it's not exactly this, but it's make TikToks, not ads. Mm-hmm. And that is it. That is personalization 2.0 for out of home. It's not just make an ad. The sign didn't say store, right? It said new store right here. Like this store knew where I was going, and it was like, don't go there, come here. And then the next sign was like, and this is how you get here. That is personalization in the out of home space, actually giving me what to do, where to go, how do I get there, what am I going to experience when I get there? That's going to make me change my mind and pivot. And I didn't get out of the car and I went to the last store, right? That's personalization. And to me, if we can do that right, that's our version of make TikToks, not ads. Don't just slap up the ad. Like, tell me what I'm going to get.
Right.
And use the context of location and audience. And we know as out of home media companies and all the pieces of the business, we have very specialized information about like who you're going to reach when they see that sign.
Right.
We can help a brand and advertisers get targeted and with their messaging and really personalize it. And to me, that's bet number one.
Awesome. So bet number one is around that hyper-localized personalization 2.0. What, bet number two?
Bet number two is going to be around the creator economy. Now, I know this is a space that you think a lot about too. Mm-hmm. To me, the creator economy is something I'm so fascinated with. It's really changed what a celebrity is. Mm-hmm. When I think back to who a celebrity was to me when I was younger, it'd be like a movie star, like a pop star. Right. And I don't think that that's who a celebrity is today to Gen Z. A celebrity is like Addison Rae or Dixie D'Amelio, right? Like these are creators who in their own right now have Netflix shows and albums. And I really like, if I was 20 today, I feel like I would be a really successful TikToker. That'd be my new job. Like calling all Gen Zers, just start making videos if you want $20 million by the time you're 20. But they've changed the landscape in this way that is so amazing to watch. And they've changed advertising. It's changed the way that consumers engage with brands, because now does it really matter if Katy Perry tells me to buy lipstick? No. The next generation wants to hear from a more authentic voice and a voice that actually tried the lipstick and maybe didn't get paid to tell you to wear that lipstick. Maybe not yet. They'll get paid at some point, but not yet. And it's $100 billion industry already. It's only going to go up. It's only going to continue to change the way that we consume, that we are influenced. And I know all these people who are listening will be like, I'm never influenced. You're influenced every day.
Absolutely.
By everything around you. I am happy to admit all the ways I'm influenced by influencers and content creators. So now what?
And so one of our big experiments is how do we translate what happens on your phone that people are doing in all of these individualized personal moments to complement that in the physical world, in the real world.
I love that. And I love Shoutable. So
thank you. And like, let's just for the record know that you guys created Shoutable.
Well, I wasn't going to say that.
You didn't create Shoutable. You created Shoutable.
Intersection did create Shoutable. It's one of the things that we always do at Intersection, which is innovate and try new things. And we didn't create it for the same intent that you use. Well, similar in some ways and different in others. But it's an awesome product. And I do think that that's probably the closest thing right now to how we might be able to see
Crossover.
the crossover. So that's particularly interesting to me to watch how that will grow and develop. And obviously, as somebody who touched Shoutable at one point, I'm a huge fan and want to see it have a smashing success of a crossover. So
What does it look like? What is that success, or what does that vision look like? I know that it's more.
I would love to see creators use Shoutable to create the out of home campaign. So instead of like just that, and again, still there's challenges we have to work through even in what I just said. But to be able to say to a creator, like, you just created this campaign for Maybelline, now use Shoutable to do the out of home execution. That is very interesting to me. I mean, I don't see creators like sitting there and picking their billboards, so you'll have to come up with the next the next version of that. But using it as a platform to create and to disseminate, that could be very interesting.
Totally. And that's the power we're looking to put in the hands of creators, really everyone.
And I have not used Shoutable recently, but a friend purchased me a billboard on Shoutable. So I have a side podcast as a passion project with a friend, and over Hanukkah, Christmas, she kept going live on our Instagram and saying, like, I bought you something and the elves are coming. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, and it was like taunting me in this very annoying way. She would not tell me what it was.
That is kind of ominous.
Yeah. And then I assumed it was going to be like flowers or balloons. I don't know what was happening. Like, what's going on? And she ended up buying us a billboard through Shoutable for our podcast. And she had my daughter film me, my reaction to seeing the billboard. Now, again, like, going back to where I started, it's so hard when you work in media to like just live as a person, as a consumer, and like just be in that moment. And that was one of those moments, in the same way that I just said, like, I experienced the Vegas billboard sending me to the store. I see the billboard and I'm like, and I know what it is and I know how much it costs, right? You take yourself out of knowing that. And I died. I was like, I want a billboard. It was like the same feeling that I imagined, like when you see all the celebrities who are still posting pictures of themselves with their out-of-home ads, like, you've seen your face on every screen
Television
imaginable.
screen,
You're on TV.
magazine.
You're in the movie theater.
But it doesn't compare.
It doesn't compare.
There's a technical phrase for that. I don't know if you've heard that.
What is it?
It's called the fuck yes moment.
I love a fuck yes moment.
So that sounds to me like that was your fuck yes moment.
It was so cool and so amazing. So that is also the power of Shoutable, I think, to be able to give the gift of like having that, like, hey, look, I made it moment. It's an awesome
Totally.
product.
Yeah. And it's the first time that we're able to show off our product. And everyone knows at Adomni we have, all these screens and technology that connects audiences, but to actually be like, and here's a coupon code.
Yeah.
I want you to experience this. It is something that once you do have that experience, like the first time when we launched it in May, I took my mom, my grandma, and my wife, all of them. I did Mother's Day billboards with different photos and all that.
Awesome.
And we went on a billboard safari. And we went to all these different billboards and we waited for it to come up. And each of the reactions was a little bit different, but they were all the same, in that there was just like this emotional outpouring that our channel, Digital Out of Home, creates that's so unique compared to everything else out there. So you put that in the hands of creators, and when they're thinking about what they're going to do that's built for Instagram or TikTok, them also thinking about how they can also adapt a piece of that can be on Link NYC screens.
Yeah.
And when they go see themselves on there, it's not just did it show up and was it effective, but they're going to post it. They're going to capture it, and they're going to throw that back up to TikTok and Instagram as an organic, shareable moment of pride for them. And that's the part that really kind of lights me up when I think about what we're trying to do there. So it's awesome that you share that vision, and we do thank you for blazing the original trail with Shoutable, and we hope to make you proud with
I'll be watching
some of the stuff that we're doing.
Watching and cheering. Love it.
Thank you. Bet 3, before we close out here.
Okay, bet 3 is a lighter one. I mean, I watched the podcast that you did with Anna and how she talked about just like having more like chutzpah and balls and selling out of home. Like, and that's bet 3 to me, is like just celebrating who we are would get us so much further. There's a lot of, I've been in the industry long enough now to watch people say like, well, we're not out of home, we're digital.
Right.
Well, we're not this, we're that. No, we're none of those things. We are out of home And that is what makes us special. That is why we are one of the only platforms that still works. That is why we are the only platform that still lets you reach a consumer, speak to them. You could get them in mass. You could be personalized. You can target people. There's so much we can do, and we will continue to innovate and grow and develop. But like, we should really own and have the chutzpah behind being proud to sell out of home and be a part of this industry. To me, like, if we would all just own that and live in that, there's a great, great power to that.
Totally. And we talk about it, how what we're doing is providing you access to the real world.
Yes.
And, there's all of what you can do on the phone and on television, whatever, but like the real world is this amazing canvas that is being underutilized.
Right.
And I think that's what excites me, and what we're doing at Adomni and Shoutable is like, how do we make it more utilized? And how we partner with Intersection, who has always been forward, leaning when it comes to technology. You were one of the first programmatic publishers, early days with RE, and then Place Exchange that got spun out, which is, by the way, such an amazing company run by amazing people.
Run by amazing people. Ari and Dave are awesome.
Best of the best.
Best of the best.
Yep. So there's a really good thing going, and it's important that no one gets really comfortable with where things are at. We're constantly challenging.
Yeah.
But it also, for you guys, you have a big business that has sort of some traditional elements to it. So it's also really cool for us to see that you guys understand that there's the legacy, but there's also what needs to happen, where we might have to break down some things and blaze some trails.
We do. We do that really well at Intersection. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of. I'm really proud that we're able to say, like, these are the traditions and the traditional pieces of business that we hold really close to our heart and that we won't change. And then these are the ways that we continue to innovate every single day, right? Like, just think about the things we talked about on this podcast. All the ways that Intersection innovates. It's mind-blowing. It's amazing. But not only Intersection, the industry as a whole. We are all doing it together. It's awesome to watch. At the Out of Home, at the OAAA conference in Nashville, I was going to be interviewing a client on the main stage. So the night before, I took him out for drinks so we could get to know each other. And he said to me something which is true. It was so interesting to him to realize that we were all competitors. Like, when I was describing who was at the bar, he's like, you're all competitors, but like, there's this real camaraderie and real ability to just like have fun together and be pals, and then also like go compete against each other for business or for whatever you're doing. And that is who we are as an industry, right? Like, we want each other to win. Like, sure, we compete, but we're doing it together and we're in it together, and that is a win for all of us.
And that you feel that. The fact that Lamar just celebrated 120 years in business.
Yeah.
And you think about the next 120 years, there's still going to be out-of-home advertising. There's still going to be digital content being served out in the real world. So we're not going anywhere. It's just, how do we keep making it better and better and bigger and bigger? And it's going to be fun continuing to innovate with you. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for stopping by before flying out.
For the pre-flight dom.
Absolutely. I wish I could give this to you to take for your airplane, but
just
I don't
put
know.
it in my water bottle.
Yeah, if you don't mind pounding that at the curb right before we drop you off.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, then we'll take that with you.
Great.
But it's awesome to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for
Esther,
having me. Next time I come, though, I do want everyone dressed like Elvis or something.
All right, we're gonna raise our
a little Vegas-y. I'm not getting Vegas vibes.
Okay, yeah, we definitely can throw some more neon and skin into the game here.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. See ya.